With this, I will request MAKP Singh, Member Hydro and CISO, Ministry of Power, Government of India, to give his presentation. A huge round of applause for him, please.
Good afternoon, all participants and all speakers who had already delivered the talk and who are going to deliver the talk after me. Right from morning, you are hearing threat, threat, threat. But how to deal with these threats? Today, I am going to share what I am doing in Ministry of Power, actually, as a CISO Ministry of Power. So you all know that tackling the cyber threat is a big challenge. It's not an easy task, actually. Howsoever strong measures we take, hackers always move one step ahead us. We always find them ahead us. And power sector is one of the easy target because they can leverage their claims. They can earn lot of money through ransomware attacks, creating DDoS attacks. So what are the things that we need to take care? First of all, we have to have a cyber security framework. I have jotted down some 9 points actually which we are working upon. Very first thing is that we should have somebody who should be accountable for taking security measures actually. So we call them CISOs actually. Chief Information Security Officer. We have mandated that every organization in the power sector should nominate CISO, and in his absence there should be an alternate CISO. But what we are finding is that organization always finds a very easy goat actually. Somebody who is not working or a designate him as a CISO actually. But he doesn't know the ABCD of cyber security. So what he can do for the organization. So that's why we are now mandating a qualification for becoming a CISO actually. So we have worked out roles based certification courses actually, which they have to complete those courses, and they can then only be designated as CISO, CTO, or whatever, CIO, whatever you call it actually. And in these certification courses, we are proposing two types of test. One is knowledge module. Beside that, skill modules. Because having knowledge is not sufficient. You should have the skill actually. You should be able to detect the cyber threat. You should be able to isolate the infected system only. If you have the skill, then only you will to do it actually. So, like I tell you one thing, I was working for Sardar Sarovar project actually. The officer had to open the circuit breaker, and we had given the code actually. That code is valid for 15 minutes only. So that 15 minutes elapsed. Next code was given, but still that person they could not open it. When we found it, that the person was unable to open the circuit breaker. So that sort of things are there, then how can we expect we can be secure? Because the cyber hacker takes only 1 or 2 minutes to launch the attack actually. So that should be the capability of the people, those who are working in your ISD. Second thing that we are enforcing is that you should have a full-fledged 24 into 7 hours operating information security division, which should be meant with the not only the IT expert but the domain expert, in which, like, suppose I am in the power sector, so they and power sector also, we are in the hydro, we are in the thermal, we are in generation, grid, load balancing. So these domain expertise should be also uh, people should be aware of it. Otherwise, you will not be able to know what system functions does actually, what the relays does, what the circuit breaker does. How can they prevent the attacks when they don't know about the functioning of the objects actually? It is the domain knowledge that only will help the people to save your system. So that's what we are expecting, is that ISD should be having not only the cybersecurity expert but the domain experts also. So in that regard, we have to have a training. So what we have mandate is that all the IT OT personnel who will be dealing the cyber assets, managing the O&M of the cyber asset, they have to undergo a cybersecurity training. We have designated National Power Training Institute to where they can get the certification. We have 3 levels of courses. Advanced is the one which we are going to start, but we have already completed basic and intermediate courses. We have trained 4,000 people from the power sector to man this cyber security. In that, I would like to emphasize every organization should have a cyber security training calendar, and they should review it, the need, because the cyber security is a very dynamic field. So today what is the calendar may not work for the next year. So that aspect should be covered actually, because you are overcoming the newer and newer type of cyber threats. So that's what we are uh, emphasizing, that the calendar has to be reviewed, and the need of the hour is that we should be one step ahead, always try to be one step ahead of the hackers. What we are expecting next is the cyber security policy. Every organization should have the cyber security policy, in which they have to spell out what are the risks that they are able to bear it, what are they are going to tolerate it actually, because every time we have to do the risk assessment, how risky our business functions are, how risky our infrastructure is actually to the cyber threats, the latest cyber threats, and how much we can tolerate and how much we can invest our time and money to secure our system. So that's an important aspect of the cyber security one. Before going to the risk assessment, you should have an inventory of cyber assets. What are the cyber assets? Do you know what are your cyber assets which you need to prevent actually? When you're talking about so many threats, on which of the infrastructure the hacker will be hacking you? Do you know that? So for that, you should have the inventory. In the inventory, you should also know what are the latest software versions you are having actually. So that sort of information you need to have. In that, our KL Meenaji talked about whether the jewels should be in the vault actually. So what we are talking about is you have to identify what are your crown jewels. We call them as CIIs, critical information infrastructure, and some of them structures are so important that they can create an impact on the national security also. So we call them as protected system. So that is the task that you need to do it. You have to identify your CII, identify your protected system, and keep them in a electronic security perimeter, for which each and every SS has to have IPS, IDS, where you can really monitor the traffic, and if any malicious traffic is there, you have to take care of it. NCIPC is doing this task. You are always uh, uh, advised to contact them for identifying your CIA and PS, protected systems. See, once your system is detected as protected system, you can have the facility of NCIPC also to have an eye on your system, and as and when threats are there, they will always alert you actually. Other other important aspect is that I talked about the software version. So every time we find that a new patch comes, but it is sometimes very difficult to patch it on the time whenever it's released. Mr. Indrajit, who was here, he talked about the Danish energy companies attack recently. 22 companies were attacked in a single go actually. That was all because the patches were not updated in time. Actually, the time that hackers took just only few days when the advisory was released, and in a single go they launched attack on 16 utilities, out of which 11 they were successful, 6 they later on compromised, and then 5 again they compromised. So that is the way of that is the speed of the attack that they do, and they capitalize on the recent vulnerability disclosures and even the CSS scores, whatever the vulnerability scores are there actually. You should always try to see whether whatever the equipments you are having, whether any CVs are released in the market, whether any patch updates are there. You have to be very active, as active the hackers are there. Uh, many of the my previous speakers talked about coronavirus. At that time, we were dependent upon the video conferencing and many other work from home also. So many times we had to keep this power sector running. So we used to give the remote access to maintain our system. At that time, our system became so weak. We don't know how many malicious codes have been infused into our system at that time. But the reality is that we have to avoid remote access. But for the sake of ease, we give them remote access, because some of the maintenance teams comes from abroad. Actually, it takes times. We need the systems to be upright right recently, as and when it goes down. With the 5G coming, and the latency is very low and the clarity is high, so we always depend upon the for maintenance on the 5G actually. But this 5G capability can mar our capability of securing our system also. So be aware of that. And to take care of all these things, we should all have a cyber crisis management plan. We have a crisis management plan, but not cyber crisis management plan. So this cyber crisis management plan is an important aspect. Whenever a crisis takes place, that this is the document that needs to be followed, and who are the persons responsible taking for what actions. Like you have come across colonial pipeline attack, so they took the wrong decision and it created a lot of problems in the US. At that time, if they had a clear cut policy of having a cyber security crisis management plan, it would have eased the situation. So I personally feel that you all go and see whether you have a cyber crisis management plan or not, and in this cyber crisis management plan you should designate a person who will declare that this is a crisis. Like then only, and all will be following the direction of that person who is responsible for that and who deal with the crisis. uh, Today we are talking about securing from our system from our outside people actually, but we don't know whether who is the outsider, who is the insider actually. We are employing AMC people, vendor coming for commissioning actually. Vendors are subcontracting. We don't know that credentials actually. They might in themselves come and they might themselves corrupt our system by malicious codes actually. This is the one of the way in which we get corrupted. The other means is through the codes, the commercial of the self actually. Most of the now product that you are getting is the integrated components which are already available in the selves. The OEMs do not manufacture them for the cutting cost. They just buy it and integrate it and sell it to you. But in these goods, there are the embedded hardware trojans, which we call actually. We need to be aware of them, though, so that this brings to us the risk of cyber supply chain risk, which we have to mitigate. We have to have testing facility in our country. Right now, the testing facility is not available in our country. We have mandated, like we have a national physical lab, we should have a national cyber testing lab. We are working on it, and shortly that will be coming up in CPRI Bangalore actually. If you have any device which you think it is a having a hardware trojan, you can send them, you can get it tested for communication protocol, even for cyber hardware trojan also. But in that case, what we need right now we are implementing is trusted vendor system. How trusty, how trustworthiness is your supplier actually. Whether they will ditch you at a last moment by not informing you the vulnerability in their product, by not giving you supply support when the systems are at a risk. So that is the aspect which we are looking, and which our telecom department, DOT, has they have introduced this trustworthy system. Ministry of Power is also going to introduce very shortly, and so that you can buy all those products, trusted product from the trusted sources, and to some extent you can be sure that the product is safe, cyber safe actually. Right now, one more thing that is coming up, we used to shun the private people actually, but the time has come that the public government cannot walk this path and take up this challenge alone. So we are expecting, and in a big way, the public private partnerships, and we all need to gel together, bring their capability together, and so that we can face this challenge together in a very holistic manner actually. The one more thing that I would like to share from this desk is that the role of the CISO is very hard, and AIMS CISO will be telling you how much they suffered when they were attacked actually, and they are defamed actually. So we should incentivize the CISO, we should motivate them, we should send them training, we should give them incentive actually. That's all from my side. I wish you all the best, and whatever you need to know more about it, we have a cyber security guidelines issued in 2021. For more details, you can go to our website ca.nic.in. That guidelines are available. We are coming up with regulations shortly, for the power sector, and we are doing many more things in the power sector for securing all our critical infrastructure, because once the power is out, the health industry will suffer, the transport industry will also suffer. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. M.A.K.P. Singh, Member Hydro and CISO, Ministry of Power, Government of India, for highlighting 9 to 10 points on what are the requirements to make a foolproof cyber secured environment in a public sector undertaking. I think the very first point which you raised, that it's not like that you can make everybody CIO or CISO. First, you have to identify whether that person is capable of doing that job or not, whether he's qualified enough in a particular domain knowledge he has got or not. That is very important, because that starts with that basic pillar. If that is wrong, the entire thing will go for toss. Thank you so much.